want to start a little bit with acknowledging that we are on Native territory here and make that land acknowledgement represented by many, many tribes. So this morning there was a lot of talk about a horror show. We'll do a little bit of a different take here. But I wanted to tie back to something that Mindy Lubbers said right at the beginning of the day. Human capital is material risk. Human capital risk is material risk, fundamental to enterprise health. I'm loving how much this day is focused on people. As we all know, the SDG wedding cake, the foundational layer is people. So, but instead of the horror show analogy, I want to talk about a little bit of the house of cards, I think, that we've been building for the last 3 to 4 decades. On the enterprise side, they're seeing that come to a little bit of a shaky ground, right? Labor shortages, quiet quitting, and just demographics that they're fighting as they look for the people that they need. On the labor side, our people have seen decreasing value of the worker, right? Loss of connection to the outputs of production. And, you know, not only do those jobs go away, but we're losing community anchors, the things that really make a sense of place and bring that pride to that work. So with that in mind, we also wanted to take a moment and retitle this panel. We don't like the idea necessarily of forgotten populations. I don't think that maybe we're not paying as much attention as we should, but let's call this, for the next little bit, New Allyship Frontiers. How about that? Does that feel a little bit more positive? All right. Okay. Well, with that, I want to get right into it. So please, Mark, explain to us a little bit more about the specific mission and the objectives of land betterment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been operating in the Appalachia regions and really rural fossil fuel related communities for the last 20 years. And obviously, we've transitioned our energy sources, we've also transitioned our jobs and our occupations. And so it's land betterment has been involved in the focus of redeveloping these communities, providing environmental solutions to regions of the world that desperately need them because of the impacted property and this transition that took place, and it took place relatively quickly. But with that, you also lost a massive amount of family sustainable wages in these communities, and these communities are losing their identity. So what we focused at Land Betterment was driving value back into these communities and driving new sustainable occupation. And honestly, with COVID and with everything else, you've had remote workforce, you've had remote developments, you've had opportunity to live outside of New York City, where I used to live for 12 years, and live in these other communities and drive value and jobs back into them. And we're proud of what we've been able to accomplish with that through sustainable housing and new housing developments, but also the environmental remediation. And one area that everybody talks about, carbon neutral, and trying to become carbon neutral, is providing those carbon offsets and providing that opportunity for brands really truly to take stands and bring back the jobs to these communities so that they can raise their families, live in the community that they love, and keep that identity that they've been able to establish over the generations.
Fantastic. And we're going to come back and hear a little bit more about that. Joshua, tell us a little bit more about partnerships with Native Americans.
Sure. Bojo, Iguyen, Shigigabe, Nishnabe, Joshua Arce, Deshnakas, Che Gwax Demyewa. My Indian name is Shigigabe. I say greetings and thank you. I'm Thunder Clan. My Indian name means bad thunder. I'm a member of the Potawatomi Nation. So PW&A is, our primary mission is serving immediate needs, supporting long-term solutions. And when we had this discussion, we're kind of at a different, there's a juxtaposition between our organization and Mark's, in the sense that they've had a story arc where, they are on the other side of trying to figure out what to do based out of their extractive economy now that that has gone away. Whereas for our organization, in a lot of ways, we're fighting for survival. And so our organization really looks to lower some of the social barriers that our communities are faced with, in addition to working with the tribes to find their solutions, so supporting self-determination in tribal communities to make sure that those solutions that they come up with are enacted and they have sustainability. In a lot of ways, we're looking to corporations and corporate sponsorships for that investment in Indian country. The communities that we serve are the rural, remote, geographically challenged communities. And so in some ways, they're a long ways away from where we are today, both in time and space and accessibility. And so unless you've had the ability to see and to visit one of these areas and locations, it's hard to really understand and fully comprehend the challenges that are set forth in those Native communities. But those are some of the stopgap services we try to provide, in addition to supporting some long-term solutions as well.
That's fantastic. Maybe you can expand on that a bit, Joshua, about giving us an example or two from some of the corporate partners that you've worked with and how you've been able to help them get right in on the ground where you do make direct impact.
Sure. So, and I've seen a few of the corporations that we worked with here today. So groups like Boeing, GM, Bank of America, Synchrony Bank, Levi Strauss, Patco, Newman's Own Foundation. There's a lot of different organizations and corporate sponsorships that we have been able to work with them on and really move the needle in some of those areas and make some direct impact in the communities that we're serving. So we, in a lot of ways, serve as that intermediary, but our recent report, we work with 50 tribal nations from the Phoenix office or the Rapid City office. And so we have that reach, we have that connection, we have those partnerships. So it's a lot easier for us to make that transition and work into those communities. And honestly, what we've seen from the pandemic was really the outpouring of support, and it was somewhat surprising, but at the same time, it was really enlightening to see what that high watermark could be, because in the years that we needed it most, we saw an outpouring of support, whether it was for PPE, health, any one of our 6 pillars, education, emergency services. We do reservation animal rescue program, in addition to food and water and holiday services. So any of those are under our umbrella, and all of them were something that are opportunities for our corporate sponsorships or some areas where corporations have already stepped in to help us in the greatest time of need.
Yeah, really getting in right in there, working directly with the community. And that's a lot of what you do as well. Maybe you can share a few examples with us as well, Mark, from Land Betterment's really interesting investments.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two main investments I'd like to talk about. Is one, our housing solutions. So we recycle old shipping containers to turn them into anywhere from a 300 to a 1,200 square foot home. We've donated these to impacted communities, from the tornadoes in West Kentucky to looking at other solutions out in East Kentucky to many different solutions there. And then also the idea of becoming a matchmaker. And effectively what we do at Land Betterment through the Land Betterment Exchange is providing an opportunity for brands to come in and help support these local communities while also helping them achieve their carbon neutrality plan. And so, I think many people here today can talk about that their companies have carbon neutral plans and they want to achieve that by 2030 to 2050. We help put that together by remediating lands, but most importantly, what it's about is the people. So we have these communities, and the breadwinners now lost their jobs through the energy transition, but they want to live in their community. And so they oftentimes travel for 5 days out of the week and live somewhere else and come back home, see their families on the weekends. What we're trying to do and what we're dedicatedly focused on is bringing those jobs back to this area by enabling them to get their carbon offsets and achieve their carbon neutral plan by sponsoring these projects to reclaim these impacted properties from prior fossil fuel related activities and then create sustainable development on top of them. And so we've created a trackable, a highly visible platform for brands to come into these communities and help sponsor these projects, earn carbon offsets, put people back to work, and ultimately promote their brand. We're businesses, and businesses have to be sustainable. They have to get a return on capital, while at the same point, we can create a winning solution for all by bringing them back together. And we're proud of what Land Betterment has been able to do to develop a platform that can truly help that happen, not only in Appalachia, but in all fossil fuel-related areas of the country, by giving them a truly trackable platform to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I like that a number of the projects there are really reconnecting people with the things that they can relate to. As you mentioned to me as we were preparing this, these aren't people that want to be re-educated to be computer programmers. That doesn't really give that satisfaction, that dignity of work, that connection to the output. So you've got some really interesting things going there with the housing being built, but also a craft distillery, I believe, and bee pollinator farm, and a few other, really hands-on type things that give people that sense of pride.
Absolutely. It's giving people what they want to do, right? Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody in society wants that. I mean, there are very few people do, for them, at least I don't. But it's giving them an occupation that they can be proud of. And in the Appalachia fossil fuel-related communities, I mean, they're outdoorsmen. They're outdoors women. And they want to have a job that they can feel proud of and use their hands and use their skill sets that they've developed over the last 20 years. I mean, one of our properties, we're reclaiming a thermal coal mine. It's $1.3 million worth of carbon offsets that corporations are sponsoring. And on that, we're building a distillery in partnership with one of the large distilleries in Louisville, Kentucky. And so it's super exciting for me to bring that to the area because it's working with mechanics. It's working with the build out of the distillery is being hired locally with former coal miners that used to work there. And so bringing those jobs back. And then another property we're reclaiming, we're actually putting an apiary on the property so we can help further pollinate the region, the agricultural space around that region, and reclaim the property to develop that opportunity. So it's exciting to give them that opportunity.
Yeah. And I would say one of the parallels that I saw in the things that you're doing, Joshua, is that similarly, you don't go in and tell these communities, hey, I'm bringing you a big corporation and they're going to solve the problem they wanted to solve. You're really working closely in partnerships with those organizations and tribes and communities to say, what is it that you're trying to accomplish and how can we help you get there? So
Correct.
Maybe you can share a little bit of that magic with us.
So I don't know if it's magic. I think it's more, being responsive to and looking at the communities and understanding the communities that we serve. So we would go in first and do more of an asset-based community development model and really understand what strengths are in the community and who the strengths are in the community. So there are people that need to pick up the torch and carry this project from beginning to end. So just beyond, initiating it, but who's going to be there for the long haul. And we've seen particular success with our emergency services program. So, under our umbrella, we have so many different pillars that really can align with the corporate ESGs, but that model of emergency services, we've been able to get community members trained, whether it's on CPR, disaster preparedness, working towards getting food banks, seed banks created, and being that resource, and that's what it takes is that level of investment. And so it's us bringing together, and that's how the magic happens, is working with the community to see what the needs are, but also making sure that there's that buy-in, that they're the ones that understand that they are in ownership of it, and we serve as that intermediary, but we try to be the best partner that we can be in order to make sure that the relationship as a whole is fruitful for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I was so excited when I was asked to moderate this panel, both to meet both of you, but if you want to know what a just transition looks like, if you want to know what meeting people where they are looks like, if you want to know how you plan for that long term and who is getting it done the right way and really understands that longer term thinking, not that, the tyranny of the short term decision. I think these are two gentlemen that you want to talk to this afternoon. I truly do. So we have about a minute left. I'm going to go here first and here first to give you, if you have an audience full of people, what would you like to tell them about as we have this minute left?
So, a few things that really resonated with me, and I was thinking through this, and so I kind of rolled back, and one thing that stuck out, so if there's anybody that remembers Kool and the Gang or knows who Kool and the Gang is, there's the song Get Down on It, get your back up off the wall, right? Let's turn this into action, and so how can we, we are looking for those 3-year commitments. We want a 3-year commitment from a corporation, so that way we can really make the magic happen. We can make some transformative change. Pick a pillar, and then commit to it. We have options available, and then I think you'd be really pleasantly surprised with the results. But not only that, it opens up more opportunities and a glimpse inside of communities you probably won't ever actually get to see. But we do have the capabilities to show that as well, to showcase that.
Fantastic. And Mark?
I'll end briefly here. I would say at the end of the day, look at, when you look at your own brand and when you look to achieve your carbon neutral plan, look locally. Look at the opportunities you have in front of you that you can truly impact communities and real people that really need help. And ultimately that's in fossil fuel related areas and elsewhere, but decisions and transitions have ramifications. They create challenges for communities, and we can help those communities by offering them opportunity, while at the same point benefit your brand. Benefit your brand locally, and truly consider that when you make your decisions.
Yeah. Well, we thank you very, very much, both of you. I hope you'll take the opportunity this afternoon to get to know both of these gentlemen and their organizations much better. Let's all create a virtuous economy together. I think the opportunities are just really astounding when you look beyond what you may have thought were our marginalized populations to these new allyships and new frontiers in allyship. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.